Hey there, you're listening to The Real Deal with Kim Hollingshead. I'm your host, Kim. On today's episode, we're reviewing the Lindsay Clancy case. I also shared my own personal story about my husband who passed from suicide just 18 months ago. We were only married for 2 weeks when his doctor started prescribing him these psychiatric prescription drugs, and I believe that they ultimately led and contributed to his passing. In my own personal story, we were newlyweds. So I have no idea that he's taking these pills. All I know is that he's short with me. He's complaining of anxiety. It doesn't matter what I do. It seems like he's not happy. I'm just new in this house and learning all the ways of the household. And I know that he doesn't trust me. He's not sleeping. He's agitated. He can't sit still. He's kind of confused. He's accusing me of doing things and saying things that I never did or said. He's complaining of other symptoms that I'm not going to go into here. He stopped eating, I stopped eating, and everybody around us can see that he's obviously very unhappy. And because of the timing of everything, of course, they're going to blame me because it only started when we got married. And I don't blame them because I also blame me. I blame myself. I did everything that I could in that time frame to manage all of his moods, all of the situation. And for months, I really believed that if I could just be patient, if I could be softer, if I could be more understanding with him, then eventually he'll calm down. He'll realize like it's going to be okay. We can get through anything together. Because I had no idea that he was taking this medication, I had no idea that it was only ever going to get worse while he was on this treatment plan that his doctor had put him on. And there wasn't anything that I was going to be able to do about it. I think about Patrick Clancy, and my heart really goes out to him because he loved his wife. He wanted to keep his family together. And I know what I went through in just a few months, but Patrick had been dealing and managing with Lindsay and her worsening symptoms for years. He might have said things like, well, she's not herself. She's just sick. And he probably didn't register his wife, and his children were not safe. He probably took it all on, and he probably saw her illness and saw through that and didn't realize just how dangerous the situation had become because this is a woman that he loved. I think that the reason why this situation can happen is because empathy is a correct response. Compassion is a correct response. Patience is a correct response. She was sick. Her mental illness was not who she is. It was just a part of what was going on. Yes, all of that is true. And that's also what kept him trapped, I believe, in that situation. That's my opinion. I feel so badly for him, because knowing that they're dangerous, you understand why they're dangerous, but it doesn't make them any less dangerous. A person who's having a psychotic break, they're going to hurt someone, and what she did to her children can't be taken back. And she may not have done that because she's a terrible person. It may have been because she truly did have a psychotic break, but it doesn't mean she wasn't dangerous, right? So we have to understand that our empathy is going to have a floor. And that floor is protecting ourselves. And that point needs to come way before anyone's life is actually in danger. People stay, I believe, in those kinds of relationships because they don't want to be seen as a bad person. I mean, I know that was true for me. Could you imagine, just put yourself in Patrick Clancy's shoes. Could you imagine the criticism that he would have faced if he had taken Lindsay's babies from her? Never mind if he had taken Lindsay's babies from her and moved out and protected him and the children and not talked to her and kept her away from the children. Take it another step further. If he had actually taken steps to protect him and the children, and then Lindsay actually did commit suicide. I mean, I can tell you firsthand what that's exactly like. I have never apologized for making a safety plan and then executing on it. I am never going to apologize for making my safety and my security a priority. I did not feel that was something that I needed to do to prove my love to him. And I'm going to give somebody listening today permission. You do whatever you need to do to make sure that you, your babies, you guys are safe. and that you're secure, and not just secure physically, but make sure that you're secure in every way. Secure your relationship, secure yourself financially. Make sure that you receive the reimbursements and the compensation that you're owed. Make sure that you have enough money to cover your expenses. That's not extortion. That is taking care of yourself. People are going to frame it in whatever way they feel like they need to frame it, and people can have whatever feelings they need to have about the situation, but you're just fine to take care of yourself, leaving the home and you doing things like sending children to go and stay with family. That is not abandoning your marriage. And men, I know that this happens to you. Look at Patrick Clancy. I feel like every man listening to this program can really put himself in Patrick's shoes to say, man, yeah, your wife, medication that they put her on, it could really change who she is as a person. She could truly become somebody that you're afraid of having around your babies. And yeah, you're going to get judged twice as hard for saying it out loud that she is dangerous. You're going to be believed half as often. This is statistical. Men are believed half as often as women for saying that they're afraid of their spouse. They're afraid that they're going to do something, and I know that there's going to maybe people listening, people who are looking at Lindsay Clancy's situation or looking at, somebody that they know and in that situation and saying, oh, but he's a really good guy. Wow, but she was an amazing mother. She loves her children. You can't do that to her. Think about the children. They got to have their, or, well, we know that she has trauma. Well, congratulations, because anybody who's going to say those words, now you know exactly what it's like to have cognitive dissonance. And now you can help someone else who's caught up in that kind of a confusion. I'm a lawyer. I know exactly what HIPAA is for, and I'm going to defend it to the end. But I'm also going to say that anybody who's living with somebody who is on antipsychotic drugs, that you need to have a lawful, consented way to live like that. Because I didn't have that consent. I wasn't afforded the opportunity to sign up for that program, and I didn't sign up for it. And what's so tragic is that had I known that my husband was being prescribed those medications, so I'm sure that I know that he was as equally upset and disrupted by exactly what was going on as I was and everybody around us was. If I had known, I would have approached that situation very differently. I probably would have called 911 because I think that I would have had more support from friends and family when I had reached out to people asking for help. I think that, things would have just gone differently because I would have had a reason to say, this is what's going on. I'm very smart. I do my research. I have medical professionals in my family. I would have reviewed the file, would have had conversations with his doctor. There's no way that it would have gone to where it did. And I think that if I had just been notified that he was on the medication, I think that he would have been here today. I really do. Because I loved my husband. I was so distraught at everything that was going on. I think that anybody who finds themselves in a situation where don't care about their needs, don't care how they feel, that they, basically could care less if what happens to you, that you have to rely on your own friends and your own family to be there to support you, to validate you, to help you. And thank God for me, when I reached out to my circle asking for help, they were there and they helped me and they steered me in the right direction. But I wish that the doctor had told me so I could have handled things differently. There's one thing, if there's just like a doctor who's out there listening, you got to notify the spouse. They have to be allowed to know what's going on. It's just so unfair, and it can have serious consequences because, it led to like this spiral of things that went out of control, and the consequences are very severe for some families. I want to always make sure that I'm shooting you guys straight because I want to make sure, and everybody listening as well, yes, the drugs can be dangerous for some people, but for many people, it saves lives. And I know that these medications saved the life of my friend, Richard, who, he passed away last November, but he probably would not have lived as long as he did without the medications that he needed. So I know that there are people who are listening right now that, your antidepressant is the reason why you're alive, and you need to hear that it is okay. You need to take your medication. What happened to Lindsay and Patrick Clancy is so sad and tragic. But guys, we have to take the bad things that happen in our lives and we have to alchemize it and figure out a way to get some good out of it. And, that's what this is all about. I hope that there's one person who's listening today, and maybe my story or Lindsay and Patrick's story made an impact on you. And you're going to go home and you're going to make different choices for yourself. And, if that's the fact that happens, that's wonderful. All we need is in bad situations for something good to come out of it. And then that's how we help one another. Guys, I'm Kim Hollingshead. You've been listening to The Real Deal. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week and take care of each other.